A rapper fights their way out of impossible circumstances, gets the money, gets the fame, sells out a concert, and then it all just unravels. We saw it with some of the pioneers of drill and trap music, who landed huge record deals only to end up right back in the same legal trouble they were supposed to have escaped. We've seen it with artists who hit the absolute peak, a #1 album, and then make a series of decisions that brings the whole thing crashing down. This isn't just bad luck or a few bad decisions. It's a psychological trap woven from the threads of their past and pulled tight by the pressures of their present. For a lot of these artists, rap isn't a hobby, it's a lifeline. It comes from places where opportunities are few and far between, and the paths to a better life are dangerously narrow. Hip-hop is born from real life, from neighborhoods where street culture isn't a choice, it's just a fact. The music becomes a raw, unfiltered diary, documenting everything from turf beefs to the pain of losing friends to violence. Imagine growing up where the whole system feels like it's set up for you to fail. Underfunded schools, no jobs, and a constant low-level threat of danger on the streets. Then you see someone from your city, someone who faced your same odds, make it out. And they did it all with a microphone. All of a sudden, music isn't just music anymore, it's a blueprint. It's proof that escape is possible. And so the grind begins. Years spent in bedrooms and basements, pouring their entire identity, their trauma, and their hopes into their music. But these odds are insane. For every one artist that blows up, thousands don't. So when that breakthrough finally hits, that viral song, that call from a major label, that first real check, it feels like destiny. It feels like they finally escaped the gravity of their old life. But what if some of them never really left? What if the same tools that helped them survive their past are the exact things that will tear down their future? That's where the trap is set. Your brain is built to adapt. If you spend years in a high stress, high threat environment, your brain wires itself to survive that world. That means being hyper aware of threats, reacting quickly, and seeing aggression and dominance as necessary tools to stay safe. These are reflexes carved into your brain by experience. Now taking artists from that world and catapult them into superstardom. The environment changes, but the wiring doesn't, not overnight at least. Their nervous system is still calibrated for immediate physical threats, even when those threats are gone. Success brings new kind of stress, the pressure to stay on top, the demands of the industry, the fear of losing it all. But the brain, falling back on its old programming, often reads these new abstract problems through the old lens of a physical threat. And that's when the pattern starts. An insult on Instagram isn't just words, it's a challenge to your status that back home will require a physical response. A business dispute isn't just a contract problem, it feels like deep disrespect that has to be met with aggression. They're running on old survival software in a new world with a completely different set of rules. It's a collision of biology and culture, and it sets a very dangerous stage. There's another deeper layer to this. The pressure of authenticity in hip-hop, keeping it real, is everything. It means being true to where you came from and what you've been through. For a lot of rappers, their entire claim to fame is their realness. It's their story of struggle and their connection to the streets. Those raw, unfiltered stories are what made their music powerful in the first place. But what happens when your past is the only thing you're allowed to be? The fans, the critics, the record labels, they all put artists in a box. They're celebrated for being street and real, and any attempt to evolve past that is met with suspicion. If a gangster rapper suddenly stops talking about that life, they risk being called a fraud. This tangles their success with the very trauma they're trying to escape. A 2020 study in JAMA Pediatrics found that from 1998 to 2018, references to mental health struggles in popular rap music more than doubled, with mentions of anxiety, depression, and deleting themselves becoming more and more common. Artists are using their music to process their pain, but at the same time, the culture often demands that this pain is performed like a badge of honor, not something to be healed or moved on from. And this is the identity trap. You're being paid to perform a version of yourself that is actively harming you. To let go of that persona feels like you're betraying the very thing that made you successful. It feels like you're erasing your own story, so they cling to it, even when it leads them down to a path of self-destruction. The money buys a new lifestyle, but their mindset is still locked in the past. The external pressures from fans and the music industry are like pouring gasoline on the fire. artists are held onto an impossible standard. One part of the fan base demands gritty, violent, authentic street stories. They want thrill, but the second that artist gets arrested or gets caught up in real world violence, that same part of the fan base clowns them for being stupid or throwing it all away. They demand the performance of a dangerous life, but condemn the consequences. And if an artist tries to switch it up and makes more positive music, they are often called boring or a sellout. Social media becomes this constant feedback loop that punishes anyone who tries to break out the box. Then you have the industry. Hip-hop has gone from a form of cultural resistance to a multi-billion-dollar product. And a huge part of that product is selling realness. Record labels have learned that gangster imagery and drill music sells records, especially to audiences who consume these stories as entertainment. They sign young artists from high-risk backgrounds, package their trauma into a marketable product, and push it for profit. There's a financial incentive for the artist to stay in that box. The industry profits from the cycle of violence and self-destruction, celebrating artists while they hot and easily replacing them when they burn out or end up in jail. The artist is stuck between a fan base that demands a dangerous persona and the industry that profits from it. Look at King Von. His authenticity was his biggest strength, but just a week after his debut album dropped, he was killed during an altercation in Atlanta at age 26. He lived the life he rapped about, and in the end, he died by it. Pooh Shiesty. He had hits flowing in 2020. He had all the momentum and talent, but a federal firearm charge brought everything to a halt, leading to a 5-year sentence. He was released in late 2025 after serving 3 years, but as of early 2026, his ass back in jail, facing new serious charges including kidnapping and robbery. It's another promising career, another window of opportunity derailed by the lingering pull of the streets. And that same authenticity that they want, they're calling him stupid now for. The Bronx drill scene saw the same thing with K Flock. He was blowing up as the new face of New York drill until he was arrested at the height of his rise, facing racketeering and murder charges that stopped his career in the tracks. Then you also had Lil Durk up 8 figures, allegedly paid for a hit in a notorious spot in LA, and then dry snitched on himself in the academics interview, all because of some little white kids from Idaho commenting on his page, "Go slide for Von."
I'm not triggered by the slide for Von comments.
For some reason, I just don't see the comments no more. For some odd reason. I don't know.
And this isn't new. The pressures that trap modern artists are the same ones that haunted past generations. We saw it with Tupac. Even artists who seem to have made it out are still at risk. Nipsey Hussle was the blueprint for the pivot. He successfully transitioned from his life as a rolling 60s Crip to a respected entrepreneur, community leader, and a Grammy-nominated artist. Yet he was tragically killed in the very neighborhood he was trying to save, a victim of the same street culture he worked so hard to rise above. As common as this pattern is, it's not unbreakable. Every time a rapper's career crashes and burns, the damage goes for beyond just them. There's a generational cost. When a role model from a tough background falls, it sends a heartbreaking message to the kids who saw that person as proof that they could make it out too. The families and communities that were counting on that success get left behind, and a rare shot at generational wealth disappears. This brings the fans to their responsibility. As an audience, as a fan, as an industry, you are a part of this cycle. The industry often puts profits over people, pushing the most violent narratives because they sell. But you as a fan have to be willing to support artists when they choose to grow. We have to celebrate vulnerability with the same energy we get at street anthems. There are movements like hip hop therapy, which uses a rap tool to help young people process trauma, but those efforts are swimming against a huge cultural tide. Real change means labels investing in the mental health of their artists, not just their image. It means fans rewarding honesty, and it means people have to stop treating these artists' lives like entertainment. We just seen another rapper get arrested for running in people's homes when he's supposed to be rich. This dude just got baptized, but he's doing home invasions in the suburbs. The story of the successful rapper who throws it all away is a modern tragedy playing out on the loop. It's not a simple tale of greed or stupidity. It's a complex psychological story about what happens when a mind wired for one world is dropped into a completely different one.